The sun wasn't even up yet, and I was knee-deep in a Bakersfield junkyard, my hands black with grease, prying a carburetor from a rusted-out Chevy that had seen better days. At 35, this was my life now. Scavenging parts to flip online, trying to scrape together enough for a burger and a tank of gas. 4 months ago, I'd been Harper Novak, middle-class wife with a cozy Fresno apartment. Now, I was just Harper, the woman my ex-husband, Derek, called damaged goods after he cleaned me out in a divorce that left me with a duffel bag and a broken spirit. His voice still echoed. No one's gonna want a nobody like you, scratching by on odd jobs. The junkyard's stench, oil, metal, decay, clung to my overalls as I wrestled the part free, my breath fogging in the dawn chill. A shadow fell over me. "Harper Novak?" a man in a crisp suit asked, looking wildly out of place among the scrap heaps. I squinted, wiping sweat and grime from my forehead with a rag that was more holes than cloth. "That's me. If you're here to collect, this carb's worth maybe $20. He didn't blink. "I'm Alex Rivera, attorney for Ethan Novak's estate." My wrench clattered to the ground. Ethan, my big brother, the one who raised me after our parents died in a crash when I was 12. He'd taught me to turn a wrench, to love the hum of an engine, but we'd fallen out a decade ago when I ditched trade school for Derek. "Ethan passed 2 months ago," Alex said, voice steady but heavy. "He left you everything." And before we get back to the story, would you be kind enough to give this video a like? You know, every single like means a lot to me. It's the kind of encouragement that keeps me creating and bringing you even better stories tomorrow. My knees buckled, and I leaned against the Chevy's crumpled hood, the cold metal biting through my gloves. Ethan? Gone? The guy who'd been my rock, who'd spent hours in our old garage showing me how to rebuild a carburetor, his calloused hands guiding mine. We hadn't spoken since I was 25 when I told him I was marrying Derek instead of finishing my auto tech certification. "You're throwing it all away for a guy who wants to clip your wings," he'd said, voice raw. I'd shot back, "You just can't handle me choosing my own road." That was the last time I heard from him. No calls, no texts, not even when Derek's betrayal left me with nothing but a suitcase and a shattered ego. "Everything?" I croaked, staring at Alex. "What's everything?" He pulled a folder from his briefcase, the kind of leather that screamed money. "Novak Auto Repair, your family's shop in Bakersfield. The house, investments, the works. Total value, about $3 million. My head spun. $3 million? I was eating day-old sandwiches from gas stations, sleeping in a beat-up hatchback. "The shop's worth $2. $5 million alone," Alex continued, flipping open the folder to reveal photos. 6 gleaming bays, tools sparkling under fluorescent lights, the neon Novak auto sign glowing like a beacon. "Ethan never changed his will. You're the sole beneficiary." I traced the sign in the photo, my chest tight. I could still smell the shop's mix of motor oil and rubber. Hear Ethan's laugh when I nailed my first oil change at 14. "He cut me off," I whispered. "Why me?" Alex's eyes softened. "He believed you'd come back to it, to the life you were meant for." 4 months ago, life looked different. I had a 1-bedroom in Fresno, a marriage that seemed solid from the outside, and a half-finished auto tech program I'd shelved for Derek's promises. "I've got us covered, babe," he'd say, all charm, a mid-level logistics manager with a smile that could sell sand in a desert. But it was a leash, not love. He'd nudge me away from work. "Why stress over certifications? Let's enjoy life. Cancel my test registrations. Oops, babe, booked us a getaway. Can't miss it." Freelance repair gigs? He'd schedule spontaneous dinners with his boss, tanking my deadlines. I stopped fighting it, let my tools gather dust, my dreams buried in notebooks filled with engine mods I'd never build. Then I caught him with his assistant, in our bed, no less. Divorce was a slaughter. Derek's lawyers painted me as a freeloader. Mine could barely keep up. He took the condo, the savings, even my old pickup. "Good luck out there, Harper," he'd sneered, tossing me a duffel. You're nothing without me. Now I was piecing together survival, flipping junk parts, doing oil changes in parking lots for cash. My hand shook as I clutched Alex's folder, the weight of Ethan's faith heavier than the carburetor I'd dropped. There's a catch, Alex said, snapping me back. You have to run the shop as owner for a full year. Step down early. It all goes to the local trade union. I laughed, bitter. Run a shop? I haven't turned a wrench for real in a decade. I'm a dropout who picked a dead-end marriage over a career. Ethan didn't see it that way, Alex said, handing me his card. He built that shop for you, even after you walked away. He nodded to his BMW, idling nearby. Let's talk details somewhere less pungent. I glanced at my grease-stained overalls, then my duffel in the hatchback, my entire life in one bag. I'm not exactly high class. You're inheriting a fortune, Alex replied. The car can handle a little dirt. He drove me to a motel off the highway, the kind with clean sheets and a coffee maker that didn't look like it had been through a war. Crash here tonight, Alex said, tossing me a room key. We fly to Bakersfield tomorrow, 7 a.m. sharp. Meet the shop crew at noon. I stood frozen, folder in hand, the neon motel sign buzzing like the one at Novak Auto. Ethan's shop, my childhood playground, where I'd learned to torque bolts and dream of building my own rides. Derek had called it a cute phase. Ethan had called it my future. I sat on the stiff motel bed, the folder open to a photo of the shop's front lot, packed with customer cars. My fingers brushed an old sketch tucked inside, a biofuel mod I'd drawn at 19, back when I thought I'd take the auto world by storm. Ethan had kept it. All those years, he'd bet on me, even when I'd bet on the wrong guy. I stared at the ceiling, heart pounding. Could I do this? Run a shop? Face a crew who'd see me as a fraud? Derek's voice slithered in. You're nobody. But Ethan's echoed louder. You've got the spark, Harp. I clutched the sketch, grease smudging the edges. Tomorrow, I'd walk into that shop, not just for Ethan, but to prove I wasn't the wreck Derek left behind. Or was I just kidding myself, chasing a pipe dream I wasn't ready for? The motel alarm blared at 6 a.m., yanking me from a restless sleep haunted by Ethan's voice and that sketch of my biofuel mod, smudged with yesterday's grease. I splashed cold water on my face, grabbed my duffel, still just jeans, tees, and those notebooks of engine dreams, and met Alex at his BMW. The Central Valley unfolded as we drove to Bakersfield, fields stretching flat under a hazy dawn, oil pumps nodding like old friends. The air carried that familiar dusty heat, tugging me back to kids' summers spent elbow-deep in Novak Auto's bays. My stomach churned. Could I really walk into Ethan's world and not crash and burn? Derek's sneer, "You're nobody," clashed with Ethan's scrawl. "You've got the spark, Harp." I clutched the folder Alex gave me, the shop's neon sign glaring from the photo, daring me to prove I wasn't the wreck I felt like. We pulled into Novak Auto's lot at 11:45, the sight hitting like a shot of adrenaline. The shop stood proud. 2 stories of cinder block painted a bold shop blue, 6 bays alive with the whine of air tools and the clank of metal. Customer cars lined the fence. Pickups, sedans, a jacked-up F-150 with chrome rims glinting. The smell slammed me. Motor oil, fresh rubber, a hint of welding sparks. Home. My throat tightened as I stepped out of the car, boots crunching gravel. Alex glanced over. Ready to take the wheel? I adjusted my duffel's strap, grease stains still on my hands from the junkyard. As ready as a rebuilt engine with no test drive. A figure in faded coveralls emerged from the main bay, wiping his hands on a rag. Gray hair, wiry build, eyes crinkling with recognition. "Harper Novak," he said, voice warm but rough, like he'd smoked one too many while wrenching. "Frank Torres, Ethan's lead mechanic. Been 20 years since you were running around here, stealing my socket wrenches." I froze, then laughed, the memory flickering. Me at 12, trailing Ethan, pocketing Frank's tools to help with a tire swap. "Didn't steal," I said, shaking his calloused hand. "Borrowed with intent to return, eventually." Frank chuckled, but his eyes softened. "You're the spitting image of Ethan when he was your age, kid. Same fire." My chest ached. Ethan. Gone, yet here in every bolt of this place. "Heard you've been holding it down," I said. "Thanks for keeping his shop alive." Frank's gaze flickered to the sign buzzing above. "Wasn't just his. Always said it'd be yours, too." As we walked toward the shop, a beat-up Jeep rolled into the lot, bass thumping from its speakers. Out stepped a woman my age, short-cropped hair, wearing a leather jacket over grease-stained cargos. Zoe Delgado, my childhood partner in crime, now a freelance mechanic with a rep for custom mods. She slung a toolbox over her shoulder, smirking. "Harper Novak, back from the dead? Thought you were playing housewife in Fresno." Her tease stung, but her grin was real. "Heard you're slumming it in junkyards now," she added, eyeing my worn boots. "Zoe," I said, half laughing, half defensive. "Didn't expect you here. What, you stalking me?" "Nah, just dropping off a client's rig, but when Frank said Ethan's little sis was taking over, had to see if you've still got it, or if you're just here for the cash." Her words landed like a jab, testing me. I squared my shoulders. "Stick around, Zoe. Might learn a thing or two about what I've got." She raised an eyebrow, skeptical but intrigued. "Big talk. Let's see if you can back it up." Inside, the shop buzzed. Air compressors hissing, a lift groaning as a sedan rose. The smell of solvent and steel wrapped around me like a familiar jacket. Frank led me past bays packed with high-end diagnostics, tools gleaming on pegboards. "Ethan kept this place tight," he said, pride in his voice. "Built it for the long haul." We stopped at the back bay, and my breath caught. A workbench sat under a skylight, flanked by a hydraulic lift and a computer station. On the wall, my old sketches, EV conversions, hybrid tweaks, even that biofuel mod from the motel folder. "Ethan set this up for you," Frank said quietly. "Started 7 years ago, after you and him stopped talking. Said you'd come back someday, and he wanted you ready." My fingers traced a sketch. The paper yellowed, but preserved. Guilt hit hard. Ethan had believed in me while I was letting Derek dim my spark. I flashed back to 17, summer heat in the old garage, Ethan grinning as I rebuilt a carburetor on a 72 Camaro. "Slow down, Harp," he'd said, handing me a wrench. "It's not a race. It's art." I'd nailed it, grease smudged to my elbows, his high five making me feel invincible. But at 25, I'd stood in that same garage, telling him I was engaged to Derek. "He's not your equal," Ethan had snapped. "He'll cage you." I'd yelled back, "You don't get to map my life," and stormed out, choosing a guy who'd spend a decade proving Ethan right. Now, standing in this bay Ethan built on faith, I swallowed the lump in my throat. "He never gave up on me," I whispered. Frank nodded. "Never did." Frank's walkie crackled. "Crew's gathering upstairs in 20, he said. "They're curious, but some ain't sold. Mitchell, especially. He's been here 20 years. Thinks he should have gotten the keys." My gut twisted. Mitchell, the veteran mechanic, already sizing me up as a fraud. Zoe leaned against the workbench, arms crossed. "You sure you're ready to boss a crew that's been bleeding for this shop while you were, what, picking fights with junkyard rats?" Her tone was playful but sharp, digging at my resolve. I met her eyes, Derek's voice creeping in. "You're nothing without me." I shoved it down. "I'm here to build, Zoe, not bail. Ethan saw something in me. Maybe you'll see it too." She smirked, unconvinced. "Crew's waiting, boss lady. Don't stall out before you start." I gripped my duffel, sketches peeking out. The meeting loomed like a curve I wasn't sure I could take. Could I face a room of wrenchers who'd smell the rust on me? Or would I choke, proving Zoe and Derek right? The back bay's skylight cast a soft glow over my sketches pinned to the wall. Ethan's faith in me tangible in every pencil stroke. Zoe's words, her half-teasing, half-doubting jab about me stalling out, hung heavy as I followed Frank up the creaky metal stairs to the shop's loft office. My boots echoed, each step amplifying the churn in my gut. The crew was waiting, and Mitchell, the veteran mechanic, was already gunning to write me off as a fraud. I gripped my duffel, the weight of my notebooks inside grounding me. Derek's voice tried to creep in. "You're nothing without me." But I shoved it down, picturing Ethan's scrawl. "You've got the spark, Harp." Zoe trailed behind, her toolbox clanking, her smirk daring me to prove her wrong. Frank glanced back as we reached the office door.
"They're a tough crowd, but Ethan picked you for a reason. Show him why."
The loft overlooked the buzzing bays, a glass wall framing the shop's heartbeat, wrenches turning, lifts humming. 8 crew members sprawled across folding chairs, coffee cups in hand, eyes sizing me up like a misfired piston. A guy in his mid-30s stood by the desk, tall, with tousled dark hair under a worn cap, his forearms smudged with grease. He extended a hand, his grip firm but warm.
"Harper Novak, I'm Lucas Reyes, shop foreman. Been with Ethan 10 years.
His eyes held a flicker of curiosity, not judgment. I froze, recognizing the name. Lucas Reyes? The guy who modded that electric Mustang for SEMA? Cut the battery weight by 15% without losing range? His brows shot up, a grin tugging his mouth. "You follow that?" "Follow everything," I said, heart racing. "Your cooling system hack was slick, kept it efficient without extra bulk." Lucas leaned back, impressed.
"Okay, not just Ethan's kid sister. You've got some gears turning."
My chest loosened a fraction, but the room's stares reminded me I wasn't in the clear. Frank clapped to start the meeting, and Alex, the attorney, stepped forward, folder in hand.
"Folks, meet Harper Novak, Ethan's sister and Novak Auto's new owner."
A low murmur rippled through the crew. A burly guy in his 50s, Mitchell, I guessed, crossed his arms, his coveralls patched with years of wear.
"No offense, Alex,"
he said, voice gravelly,
"but Ethan must have been off his game. She's never run a shop. What's she been doing, playing housewife in the suburbs?"
The word hit like a spark to fuel. Derek's dismissals flashed, him scoffing at my cert plans.
"Cute, Harp, but stick to dinner parties."
I clenched my fists, nails biting palms. A woman next to Mitchell, maybe 40, with short graying hair and a torque wrench tucked in her belt, nodded slightly. "Carla," I figured, another veteran sizing me up. The room waited, air thick with doubt. I stepped forward, dropping my duffel with a thud. "Mitchell, right? You're not wrong. I haven't run a shop. Dropped out of auto tech at 25 to get married. Biggest mistake of my life." Gasps, a few smirks. I pulled a notebook from my bag, its pages creased from years of hiding. But I never stopped designing. This is an EV conversion I sketched 2 years ago. Solar-assisted charging, regenerative brakes. Got a dozen more where that came from. Ideas I worked up while my ex called them adorable hobbies. I tossed the notebook to Mitchell. He caught it, flipping through, his jaw tight, but eyes scanning. Carla leaned over, her frown softening as she traced my diagrams. "Ethan built this shop on bold moves," I said, voice steady despite my pounding heart. "I'm here to keep that engine running, not just coast on his name. I'll lean on your expertise, Lucas, Frank, all of you. But if you're not game for fresh spark, Alex has severance papers ready. Sign or stay, your call by end of day." The room went quiet, save for the faint hum of the bays below. Mitchell grunted, passing the notebook to Carla, who studied it longer than I expected. Lucas broke the silence, his voice low but clear. "Ethan told me a year ago, if I go, Harper's the one to take the wheel. Said you were sidelined too long but had the grit to turn this place electric, literally." His eyes held mine, a nod of respect. My throat tightened, Ethan's faith a lifeline against the crew's skepticism. Carla spoke up, her tone sharp but not hostile. "Designs are one thing, Harper. Running this place means handling clients, budgets, egos. You sure you're not in over your head?" I met her gaze, Derek's old jabs. "You're nobody," trying to claw back. "I'm sure I'm not here to play small," I said. Ethan saw that. "Give me a shot, and you will too." As the crew filed out, muttering, Lucas hung back. "That was bold, offering severance day one. Half might hate you, but the ones who stay, they'll respect the fire." I exhaled, knees shaky. "Half's a start. Mitchell's already got me in his crosshairs. Lucas smirked.
He's a lug nut. Tough but predictable. Ethan said you'd handle worse. Told me to guide you, not because you're weak, but because you're worth it.
My pulse skipped. Ethan's words, through Lucas, felt like a wrench passed hand to hand. Alone in the office, I sank into Ethan's chair, the leather creaking under me. The desk held a faded photo. Me at 15, grinning beside Ethan, both of us grease-streaked after rebuilding a transmission. Derek spent a decade telling me I'd never measure up. Mitchell's housewife dig just echoed that lie. I gripped my notebook, its pages proof I'd never stopped dreaming, even when buried. I wasn't just here for Ethan. I was here to kill the ghost of the Harper who let Derek's control define her. But as I stared at the crew below, Mitchell's scowl lingered. Could I really lead them? Or was I just revving up for a crash? The loft office's glass wall framed the shop below, where the crew scattered to their bays, Mitchell's scowl still burning in my mind. I slumped in Ethan's chair, the leather creaking, my notebook open to that EV conversion sketch I'd shown the team. Lucas's words, "Ethan said you'd handle worse," lingered, a lifeline against the doubt Mitchell's housewife jab had stirred. Derek's old taunts tried to creep back, but I shut them out, focusing on the photo on Ethan's desk. Us at 15, grease-streaked and grinning. I'd faced the crew, held my ground, but the real test was keeping it together now. Lucas poked his head in, cap tilted.
You good, boss? Crew's buzzing, half impressed, half spooked. I forced a smile, gripping the notebook. Just warming up the engine. What's next? He grinned. Let's get you under the hood of this place. Lucas led me through the shop's pulse, diagnostics first, his hands deft on a scan tool as he walked me through a tricky ECU fault on a customer's F-150. Ethan trusted his gut on these,
he said, plugging the scanner into the truck's port.
Tech's only half the game. Feel the rig.
I nodded, the hum of the shop wrapping around me like an old song. We moved to vendor calls, Lucas coaching me on haggling with suppliers who'd try to jack up prices on spark plugs.
Push hard, but fair,
he said, tossing me a headset. They'll test you. By afternoon, we tackled shop politics, navigating Tony's tendency to hog the best jobs and Carla's quiet loyalty to Mitchell.
She's sharp but skeptical,
Lucas warned.
Win her, and the crew follows.
It felt like coming home, like slipping into boots I'd forgotten fit. Every beep of the diagnostic, every clank of a wrench pulled me back to 16, tailing Ethan, soaking up his tricks. But Mitchell's glare from across the bay reminded me I was on probation. That evening, alone in Ethan's office, I poked through his desk, needing something to anchor me. Under a stack of invoices, I found a folder labeled Harper in his blocky scrawl. My breath caught. Inside were my old sketches, hybrids, biofuel mods, even a half-baked solar charger from high school. Tucked among them, a sealed envelope, my name in Ethan's handwriting. I tore it open, heart pounding. "Harp," it started. "If you're reading this, you made it back. Sorry for the cold shoulder after you picked Derek." I was pissed. Not at you, at him stealing your fire. Should have reached out, but I figured you'd find your way when ready. This shop's yours, always was. Back bay's waiting. Show 'em what I saw at 12 when you tore down that carb like a pro. Proud of you, kid. E. Tears pricked my eyes. I flashed back to 25, the fight that broke us. Ethan in the garage, grease on his cheek, yelling, "Derek's not your partner, he's your cage!" I'd screamed back, "You don't get to pick my life!" and stormed out, ring glinting on my finger. I'd chosen Derek's promises over Ethan's truth, and it cost me a decade. Guilt clawed me, but so did hope. Ethan never stopped believing. I dug deeper, finding a leather journal tucked in the drawer, pages worn but meticulous. Ethan's logs, starting 15 years back. I flipped to an entry from my engagement year. "Harp's marrying that suit. Skipped the wedding. Can't watch her park her dreams. Frank says she'll wake up, but it kills seeing her spark dim." Another 5 years later. "Heard Derek's keeping her from wrenching. My kid sis, rusting in suburbia. Built the back bay today, just in case she rolls home." My hands shook. He'd watched me fade, tracked my marriage's slow choke through shop gossip and old friends. A later entry. Divorce filed. She's free, but broke. Gotta believe she'll rebuild. Shop's hers when she's ready. I clutched the journal, tears spilling. Ethan had prepped that bay 7 years ago, betting I'd find my way back. Derek spent a decade calling my sketches cute hobbies. Ethan saved them like treasures. The next morning, Lucas found me in the back bay, journal still open. "Heavy night?" he asked, handing me coffee. I nodded, voice thick. Ethan kept tabs on me, even when I shut him out. Built this space, knowing I'd crash. Lucas skimmed an entry, his face softening. "He told me you were a gearhead born, just stuck in neutral, said you'd shift gears when the time came." I stood, pacing the bay, my sketches glowing under the skylight. "He's right. I'm done coasting. I want to honor him, start something big." Lucas raised a brow. "Big how?" "Novak apprentices," I said, the idea sparking. "Paid training for kids from tough spots. Folks like me after the divorce. No cash, no shot. Teach 'em to wrench. Give 'em a future." Lucas whistled. "That's a haul. Budget, time, crew buy-in." "Worth it," I said, thinking of the single mom I'd met at a gas station last month. Her car sputtering. No money for a fix. I'm starting a free repair clinic, too, for single moms. Been there, broke and stranded. Ethan would have loved it. Lucas grinned. "He would have. You're not just running his shop. You're revving it up." I sketched out the clinic plan that afternoon, fueled by Ethan's journal and the mom's tired eyes in my memory. But as I scribbled, I overheard Mitchell in the next bay, his voice low but sharp. "She's got big ideas, sure, but no track record. Betting she bails when it gets real." Carla murmured agreement, her tone wary. My grip tightened on the pen. Ethan's faith was my fuel, but the crew's doubt was a headwind. Could I pull this off, or would Mitchell's skepticism prove I was just a dreamer out of my depth? Mitchell's voice, sharp and low from the next bay. "She's got big ideas, sure, but no track record," followed me into the night as I locked up Novak Auto, Ethan's journal tucked under my arm. His faith burned in those pages, but the crew's doubt, especially Mitchell's, stung like grit in a gear. I'd vowed to launch Novak apprentices and a free repair clinic for single moms. Ideas that felt like fire in my chest, but the weight of proving myself was heavier than ever. Derek's old taunts, "You're nobody," tried to claw back, but I pictured that single mom from the gas station, her car limping, her eyes desperate. Ethan had built this shop for me to rise, not rust. By morning, I was back in the back bay, sketching out the clinic's logistics on my laptop, the hum of the shop grounding me. Today was big. My first major pitch to Ramirez, a fleet owner looking to eco-upgrade his delivery vans. If I nailed this, it could fund the clinic and prove I wasn't just Ethan's kid sister playing boss. For weeks, I'd worked with Lucas and the crew, crunching numbers for hybrid conversions, regenerative brakes, lightweight panels, smart routing tech. My laptop held the slides. Clean graphs, efficiency models, all polished to impress. Lucas poked his head in at 9:30 a.m., coffee in hand. "Ramirez is due in 30. You ready to sell this?" I grinned, nerves buzzing. "Born ready. These vans'll sip gas like a Prius on a prayer." He chuckled, but his eyes flicked to Mitchell across the shop, tinkering on a sedan with Carla. "Watch Mitchell. He's been griping to clients, saying you're green. Might try to pull something." I shrugged, brushing off the warning. "Let him talk. I've got the numbers." But my gut twisted. Mitchell's housewife jab from the crew meeting still burned, echoing Derek's dismissals. "Stick to hobbies, Harp." I shook it off, grabbing my laptop for the conference room upstairs. At 9:45, I hooked the laptop to the projector. Blank screen. My stomach dropped as I clicked again. Nothing but error messages. Files corrupted, slides gone. My EV models, cost breakdowns, everything trashed. Lucas, setting up chairs, caught my panic. "Harper, what's wrong?" I jabbed at the keyboard, voice tight. "Presentation's fried. Every file, nuked." I checked the backups. Gone too. My pulse raced. Ramirez would walk in 10 minutes, expecting a pro pitch, and I had nothing. Derek's sneer flashed. "You'll crash without me." I shoved it down, heart pounding. Lucas grabbed a whiteboard marker. "You know this cold. Draw it out, old school." I froze, picturing Ethan at 17, sketching fixes on a garage wall when his tools failed. "Okay," I said, grabbing the marker. "Let's roll." Ramirez arrived, mid-50s, sharp suit, eyes scanning the room like he could smell weakness. I stood by the blank whiteboard, marker in hand, sweat beading under my Novak auto jumpsuit. "Mr. Ramirez," I started, voice steadier than I felt. "Your fleet's bleeding fuel. My plan makes it leaner, greener, cheaper." I drew a van outline, arrows for energy flow, sketching the hybrid system from memory. Regenerative brakes charge the battery every stop. Lightweight panels cut drag. Smart routing saves 20% on gas. My hand moved fast, fueled by years of notebooks hidden from Derek's mockery. Ramirez leaned forward, tracing my lines. Lucas passed me colored markers, and I shaded efficiency zones, explaining torque curves like I was born for it. 40 minutes later, the board was a masterpiece. Raw, real, mine. Ramirez stood, clapping slow. "No PowerPoint fluff, just guts. I'm in. When do we start?" I exhaled, legs shaky but heart soaring. "Next week, sir. We'll spec your first van." He shook my hand, grinning. "Ethan was right about you." Ever pulled a win from a wreck? Comment below and hit like to keep this story rolling. As Ramirez left, Lucas high-fived me, his grin wide. "You turned a crash into a burnout. Ethan'd be proud." I laughed, adrenaline fading. But my eyes caught Mitchell lingering by the door, arms crossed, face unreadable. "Something's off," I muttered, checking my laptop again. The corruption wasn't random. Timestamps showed edits from last night, 7:12 p.m., after I'd left. "Someone torched my files," I told Lucas, voice low. He frowned, pulling up the shop's network logs on his tablet. "Mitchell's station. He logged in after hours, accessed your drive." My blood boiled. Mitchell hadn't just doubted me. He'd tried to sabotage my first big swing. I thought of Derek canceling my certification tests, calling it helping. No more. I called an emergency crew meeting that afternoon, the loft packed with the team's uneasy stares. Mitchell sat in the back, arms crossed, Carla beside him, her expression guarded. I stood at the front, laptop open, logs projected on the wall. "This morning, my Ramirez pitch was nearly tanked. Files corrupted, backups wiped. Traced to Mitchell's station, 7:12 last night." The room tensed, whispers rippling. Mitchell's face reddened. "That's a heavy accusation, Harper. I was checking inventory, must have clicked something." I held his gaze, Ethan's journal echoing in my mind. "Show him what I saw." "No accident wipes backups," I said, voice steel. "You spread rumors to clients, called me green. Now this? You didn't just test me. You risked the shop's rep." Carla shifted, eyes narrowing, but she stayed silent. I pulled out severance contracts from Alex's folder. "Mitchell, you've got two paths. Resign now, we buy your stake fair, you sign an NDA, or we go legal, and your name's mud. Decide by tomorrow." The crew murmured, some nodding, others stunned. Mitchell's jaw clenched, but he said nothing, storming out. Lucas leaned in as the room cleared. "You didn't just lead. You owned it." That night, alone in the back bay, I sat at my workbench, Ramirez's handshake still tingling in my palm. Ethan's sketches hung around me, his faith a shield against Mitchell's betrayal. But as I powered down my laptop, an email pinged, a major client citing concerns about leadership stability, canceling a deal for next month. My heart sank. Had Mitchell's rumors spread further than I thought? Was my win with Ramirez just a fluke, or was I still one glitch from losing it all? The email's words burned into me. "Concerns about leadership stability," the client had written, pulling a $50,000 deal like it was nothing. I sat frozen in the back bay, my triumph over Mitchell and the Ramirez win souring fast. The shop hummed around me, oblivious, lifts groaning, air tools whining, but my laptop screen felt like a spotlight on my failure. Had Mitchell's sabotage spread further than I'd caught? Ethan's sketches on the wall, his faith in me, seemed to dim under that client's concerns. Derek's old sneer, "You'll crash without me," slithered back, and for a moment, I wondered if he was right. I shut the laptop, grabbing Ethan's journal from the workbench. His words had pulled me through yesterday. Maybe they'd steady me now. But as I flipped it open, Zoe strode in, her leather jacket slung over one shoulder, toolbox swinging. "Heard you sent Mitchell packing," she said, smirking. "Thought you'd be popping champagne, not looking like you lost your best wrench." I forced a laugh, leaning back against the workbench, the cold metal grounding me. "Mitchell's out, yeah. Gave him a buyout, kept it clean. Thought I had this place locked down after nailing the Ramirez pitch." I nodded at the laptop. "Then that email. Big client bailed, saying I'm too green to lead." Zoe's smirk faded, her eyes narrowing. "That's bull. You torched that presentation. Who's the client?" I showed her the email, Western Freight, a steady account for years. "Says leadership stability. Smells like Mitchell's rumors." Zoe crossed her arms, leaning against a lift. "Not just Mitchell. I heard Carla talking to a supplier yesterday, saying you're all flash no mileage. She's tight with him, always has been." My gut twisted. Carla, the veteran tech who'd nodded at Mitchell's housewife jab, who'd studied my Evie sketches but stayed quiet. Another doubter, working behind my back. I found Carla in the third bay, torquing bolts on a pickup's suspension, her graying ponytail tucked under a cap. The air smelled of grease and rubber, the shop's pulse steady despite my racing heart. "Carla!" I called, voice firm but not loud. She glanced up, wrench pausing, her face guarded. "Got a minute?" She set the tool down, wiping her hands on her coveralls, and followed me to the break room, where vending machines hummed in the corner. No one else was around, just us and the faint buzz of the shop. "Western Freight canceled," I said, arms crossed. "Said they heard I'm not up for this. Zoe says you've been talking, telling suppliers I'm a lightweight." Carla's jaw tightened, but she didn't flinch. "I didn't call Western," she said, voice clipped. "But yeah, I've talked. You come in here, no experience, big plans, apprentices, clinics. Looks good on paper, but we've been grinding for Ethan while you were, sidelined? I'm not sold you can hack it." Her words hit like a spark to fuel, echoing Derek's dismissals. "Stick to hobbies, Harp." I stepped closer, keeping my voice even. "I get it. You've put years into this shop, and I'm the new kid with a title. But Ethan built that back bay for me, kept my sketches, believed I'd lead. You saw my designs. Tell me they're not solid." Carla's eyes flicked away, then back. "They're solid. But running this place takes more than sketches. Mitchell thought so too." "Mitchell tanked my pitch files," I shot back. "You gonna ride with that kind of play?" She hesitated, then shook her head. "No, that was low. Look, I'll give you a shot. Prove you're not just talk, but you gotta earn it." I nodded, tension easing a fraction. "Fair. Start by shutting down the gossip. We're a team, not a rumor mill." Back in the back bay, I sank onto a stool, Ethan's journal open in my lap. Carla's half-promise was a start, but Western Freight's cancellation still stung. I flipped to an entry from 2 years ago. "Harp's divorce hit the grapevine. She's out of Derek's grip, but broke. Gotta believe she'll rebuild. This shop's her shot." My eyes stung. Ethan had watched me crash, yet built this bay, betting I'd rise. I traced his handwriting, guilt and resolve mixing like oil in water. I'd thought Mitchell's exit was my win, that the shop was mine. But Carla's doubt, the client's email, maybe I'd misread the scoreboard. My phone buzzed. Lucas, texting about Western Freight. "Talk to their CFO. Cancellation's not you. It's their budget cuts. Bad timing, not your rep." Relief hit, but it was fleeting. Carla's words lingered, and Mitchell's sabotage had left scars. I gripped the journal, Ethan's faith my anchor. I'd won Ramirez, faced down Mitchell, got Carla to bend. But with the crew still watching and clients jittery, was I really in the driver's seat or just one bad turn from spinning out? The relief from Lucas's text, That Western Freight's cancellation was budget cuts, not my fault, faded fast as Carla's warning echoed. Prove you're not just talk. I sat in the back bay, Ethan's journal open, his words a steady hum beneath the shop's clatter. I'd faced Mitchell's sabotage, won Ramirez, and got Carla to give me a shot, but the crew's eyes still followed me, waiting for a misstep. My phone buzzed again, and I tensed, half expecting another client bailing. Instead, it was a number I hadn't seen in months. Derek. Heard you're running Ethan's shop. Proud of you, Harp. My thumb hovered over the block button, his charm a familiar trap. I wasn't that Harper anymore, the one who'd believed his lies. I blocked him, heart pounding, and turned back to the workbench, where plans for Novak apprentices were taking shape. Today was the launch, and I wasn't letting Derek's ghost derail me. The shop's lot buzzed with energy by noon. A small crowd gathered for the apprentices' kickoff. Banners snapped in the breeze, reading, Novak apprentices, build your future. Lucas had rallied the crew to set up tables, tools gleaming for demos. Mia Torres, 19, stood out among the 5 apprentices. Sharp eyes, quick hands, already sketching adaptive lifts for disabled techs on a tablet. I'd picked her from a stack of applications, her essay about fixing her mom's car on a shoestring budget hitting close to home. Mia, show 'em what you got, I said, nodding to her setup. She grinned, powering up a prototype lift that adjusted with a foot pedal, perfect for wheelchair users. This cuts setup time by 30%, she explained to the crowd, local techs, a few reporters, even Frank, who gave her a thumbs up. The crowd murmured approval, and I felt a spark of pride. Ethan would have loved this, his shop giving kids like Mia a shot I'd nearly lost. As the demo wrapped, I spotted a woman lingering by the lot's edge, her beat-up Corolla parked crooked. Early 30s, tired eyes, kid tugging her sleeve. Another single mom, like the one from the gas station who'd inspired my free repair clinic. I approached, offering a smile. Need a hand with that ride? She hesitated, then nodded. It's stalling. Can't afford a tow. I waved Mia over and we popped the hood, diagnosing a clogged fuel filter in 10 minutes. As Mia swapped it, I knelt beside the woman, Lisa, who clutched a worn purse. Been there, I said quietly. Divorce cleaned me out last year, had to rebuild from scratch. Lisa's eyes met mine, softening. You're doing all this? After that? I nodded, handing her kid a Novak auto sticker. Yeah, this clinic's for folks like us. Bring the car back, no charge. Lisa's smile was small but real, and as she drove off, Mia nudged me. You're not just talk, Harper. I laughed, but my chest warmed. Ethan's legacy was growing, and I was building it. That afternoon, in this back bay, Mia tinkered with her lift design while I sorted apprentice schedules. My phone buzzed, a text from a blocked number. Harper, I messed up. Let's talk. Congrats on the shop. Derek again, slithering through a new number. My stomach churned, his voice flashing back. You're nothing without me. I'd believed it once, let him kill my cert dreams, my confidence. Not now. I blocked the number, hand steady, but my jaw clenched. You okay? Mia asked, glancing up from her tablet. I exhaled, setting the phone down. Old ghosts. My ex. Thought he could control me forever. Tried to kill my spark. Like your teachers saying girls can't wrench. Mia's eyes narrowed, her story spilling out. High school shop instructors dismissing her, saying she'd never cut it. I leaned forward. I lost 10 years to a guy like that. Took Ethan's faith to pull me back. You've got that spark, Mia. Don't let anyone dim it. She nodded, grip tightening on her stylus. I won't. Thanks for seeing me, Harper. I smiled, Ethan's journal in my mind. Harp's got the spark. Now I was passing it on. By evening, I was riding high, sketching clinic flyers when Lucas burst into the office, face grim. Problem. Major supplier, Cal West Parts, just called. They're hesitating on our next order, saying they heard you're unreliable. Won't name the source. My gut sank. Mitchell? Lucas shook his head. Worse. Sounds like Derek. He's been calling around, claiming you faked your way into the shop, that Ethan's will was a fluke. I gripped the desk, Derek's text flashing back, his congrats, a snake's hiss. I'd thought blocking him was enough, that his apology was just pathetic grasping. But this? Spreading lies to tank a deal that could fund the apprentices and clinic? My hands shook, rage mixing with fear. Ethan's words echoed.
Show 'em what I saw.
I'd built this far. Ramirez, Mia, Lisa, but Derek's shadow was longer than I'd thought.
Get me Cal West's number,
I told Lucas, voice hard.
I'm shutting this down.
He nodded, but as he dialed, I wondered, could I outrun Derek's lies? Or was he about to blow another hole in my comeback? Lucas handed me his phone. Cal Westpart's number already dialed, but my hands were still shaking from the bombshell. Derek, slithering back with lies to tank our supplier deal. His congrats text was a ploy, not an olive branch, and now Cal West was wobbling on a $200,000 fleet contract that could keep Novak apprentices and the repair clinic running. I stood in the back bay, Ethan's journal on the workbench. His words, show him what I saw, battling Derek's echo. You're nothing without me. The shop's hum, lifts groaning, tools clanking, grounded me, but my pulse raced. I'd faced Mitchell's sabotage, won Ramirez, got Carla to bend, but Derek's shadow was a gear I couldn't shift. Lucas watched me, eyes steady.
You got this, Harper. Call him, set it straight.
I nodded, gripping the phone, but before I could dial, Zoe burst in, her leather jacket half-zipped, face tight. You're not gonna believe this. Derek's been calling me, fishing for dirt on you. I froze, phone midair. Dirt! What's he want? Zoe dropped her toolbox on the workbench, voice sharp. Said he's worried you're in over your head, asked if you're cracking under pressure. Tried to play me like we're still 18 and I'd spill. Told him to shove it. Her eyes blazed, loyal but pissed. My chest warmed. Zoe, my old partner in crime, had my back. He's not just hitting Cal West, she added, pulling up her phone. Check this. She showed me a post on an auto forum, anonymous but reeking of Derek. Novak Auto's new owner is a fraud, no experience, coasting on her brother's name. It had 200 likes, comments piling on. Heard she's tanking deals. My stomach churned. Derek wasn't just targeting suppliers, he was torching my rep online, where every gearhead in Bakersfield could see. He's trying to bury me, I said, voice low. Zoe smirked, fierce. Then dig yourself out, Harp. You're tougher than his cheap shots. I nodded, Ethan's faith flashing in my mind.
Lucas, get Cal West on the line.
Get Guaz.
Zoe, you're with me. We're tracing this snake.
The Cal West rep, a gruff guy named Torres, was cagey when I called.
Heard you're new, Harper. Word is, you're not ready for big contracts.
I gripped the phone, keeping my tone steady.
Word's wrong, Torres. I've got Ramirez's fleet locked, and I'm running Ethan Novak's shop with a crew that's top tier. You want proof? Come see us work.
He hesitated, then agreed to a demo tomorrow. I hung up, heart pounding but resolve hardening. Lucas raised a brow.
Demo? Bold move.
Only move, I said. Derek's playing dirty. I'm playing better. Zoe grinned, already scrolling her phone. Found the forum's admin. Derek's post came from a burner email, but I bet we can trace it. Guy's sloppy. Her fingers flew, tech-savvy in a way I'd forgotten. Thanks, Zoe, I said, squeezing her shoulder. Didn't know you'd go full detective for me. She shrugged, eyes soft. You're family, Harp. Always were. The next day, the shop lot was a stage. Cal West's Taurus stood with 2 suits, arms crossed, as I rolled a van onto a lift. The crew, Lucas, Carla, Mia, worked like a pit team, tools flashing under the sun. I walked Torres through a hybrid conversion, popping the hood to show a custom battery pack I'd tweaked from my old sketches. This cuts fuel costs 25%, I said, pointing to the wiring.
Same tech we'll use on your fleet.
Mia demoed her adaptive lift, smooth as silk, while Lucas swapped a fuel pump in record time. Carla, still guarded, handed me tools without a word, but her precision backed me up. Torres scribbled notes, nodding.
Heard you were green, Harper. This ain't green.
I grinned, grease smudged on my cheek.
Heard wrong. Contract still good?
He extended a hand.
Signed by Friday.
The crew cheered, Mia high-fiving Lucas. Carla met my eyes, a flicker of respect there. I exhaled, victory sweet but sharp. Derek's lies hadn't won yet. That evening, I sat in Ethan's office, sketching clinic flyers when Zoe burst in, grinning. Got him? Derek's burner email links to his old logistics firm's IP. He's been calling suppliers from a Fresno number. My jaw clenched. He's not stopping. Zoe nodded. He's on that Gear Tickler podcast tomorrow, hinting he knows Novak's real story. You gotta hit back. I leaned back, Ethan's journal open on the desk. Then I'm crashing his party. I called the podcast host, a local auto influencer, and pitched a guest spot. I'm Harper Novak, and I've got the truth on those rumors. They slotted me in, same show as Derek. Game on. The next morning, I met with a local charity, Valley Hope, to pitch the free repair clinic. In their cramped office, I laid out my plan. Free fixes for single moms, starting with Lisa's Corolla. I've been there, I told the director, a kind-eyed woman named Sarah. Divorce left me with nothing. Ethan's shop can give back. Sarah teared up, nodding. We're in! Community's buzzing about you! I left with a handshake and a stack of donor contacts, the clinic realer than ever. Back at the shop, I prepped for the podcast, nerves buzzing, but Ethan's words steadying me. Show 'em what I saw. Derek's lies were spreading, from forums to podcasts, and Cal West was just the start. I'd won the demo, gained community support, but with Derek stepping up his game, could I outrun his poison before it choked the shop for good? The podcast mic was still warm in my mind, Derek's smug voice cut off by my truth on Gear Tickler yesterday, where I'd laid out Novak Auto's vision and called his rumors what they were. Lies. Cal West's contract was signed. The charity was on board for the repair clinic, and Zoe's sleuthing had Derek on the ropes. But as I stood in the shop's lot, string lights twinkling for the holiday party, his shadow lingered. Could he still tank what I'd built? The crew laughed around a fire pit, beers clinking, Mia showing off her adaptive lift to Frank. Ethan's journal sat in my bag, his faith my anchor. I'd outrun Derek so far, but the fight wasn't over. Lucas sidled up, his flannel rolled to the elbows, handing me a hot cider. You're a million miles away, he said, his grin soft under the cap he never ditched. Just thinking, I said, sipping the cider, its warmth cutting the December chill. Derek's not done, but tonight, I'm here. The party buzzed, the shop transformed with tinsel and a beat-up boombox playing Springsteen. Lucas led me to a quiet corner by the back bay, where my sketches glowed under the skylight. Harper, he said, voice low. I've been wanting to say something. His eyes held mine, steady but nervous, a look I hadn't seen in him before. Ethan told me to watch out for you, but it's more than that. I'm falling for you. Have been since you walked in with that EV notebook, ready to take on Mitchell. My heart stuttered. Derek's voice flashed. His I love yous always laced with control, like when he'd surprise me by canceling my cert tests for us time. I froze, fear spiking. Could I trust this? Lucas stepped closer, his hand brushing mine. I'm not him, Harp. I see you. The gearhead, the leader, the one Ethan bet on. My chest tightened, but Ethan's faith, Lucas's respect, drowned out the doubt. I leaned in, kissing him, soft but sure. The cider's warmth, nothing compared to his. The crew whooped from the lot, Mia yelling, "Get a room!" I pulled back, laughing, vulnerable but alive. Ever found love when least expected? Share below and hit like to keep this ride going. Later, in Ethan's office, I dug through his journal, needing his voice after opening my heart. A page caught me, dated a year ago. Told Lucas to stick by Harp if she comes back. He's solid, sees her fire like I do. Hope she trusts him. She's been burned enough. My eyes stung. Ethan had seen this, planned for it, even when I was lost in Derek's cage. I clutched the journal, Lucas's kiss still tingling. He'd seen me, not the housewife Derek mocked, but the wrench turner I'd buried. I found Lucas by the fire pit, the party winding down. Need to tell you something, I said, sitting close, the fire's crackle masking the crew's chatter. Derek didn't just cheat. He controlled everything, canceled my certs, called my sketches pointless, said I'd never be more than his shadow. Lucas's jaw tightened, but his hand found mine. He was wrong, Harp. You're building something bigger than he could ever touch. I nodded, Derek's ghost fading under Lucas's grip. Ethan knew I'd need you, I said, voice thick. I'm starting to see it too. The next morning, I launched the free repair clinic, the lot packed with volunteers and cars. Lisa, the single mom from the Corolla fix, showed up, her kid now sporting a Novak auto cap. Her sedan's brakes were shot, and I worked the lift, Mia passing tools. You're really doing this, Lisa said, watching me torque bolts. After my divorce, I thought I'd never get ahead. I wiped grease from my hands, meeting her eyes. Mine left me with a duffel and a busted ego. This clinic's for us, to keep going. She smiled, raw and real, like looking in a mirror. But trouble hit by noon. A volunteer flagged me, saying our main donor was pulling funds, spooked by cash flow concerns. My gut sank. Derek's rumors, maybe, or just bad luck? I rallied the team, calling every contact from Valley Hope. By dusk, we'd secured 2 new donors, local businesses moved by Lisa's story. The clinic was saved, but barely. I stood in the lot, watching Lisa drive off, her kid waving. Ethan's vision, my vision, was alive, but fragile. Derek's lies were still out there, and with the clinic teetering, could I keep this engine running? Or was I one bad break from stalling out? The repair clinic's lot was quiet now, Lisa's sedan long gone. Her kid's wave a fading snapshot in my mind. I stood under the shop's neon sign, its buzz steady against the night chill, but my victory felt shaky. The clinic was funded, Lucas's kiss still warmed my lips, and Ethan's journal, his faith in me and Lucas, kept me grounded. But Derek's shadow loomed, his lies threatening the shop's deals, the clinic's donors, my fresh start. I'd countered him on that podcast, won back Cal West, but the question gnawed, what was he planning next? Back in Ethan's office, I sank into his chair, journal open, my fingers tracing his words. Harp's been burned enough. I'd thought I was free, but Derek wasn't done. My phone buzzed, a text from Alex, the attorney. Emergency, Derek filed a lawsuit. Meet me tomorrow, 8 a.m. My heart sank like a dropped wrench. The next morning, Alex's office smelled of coffee and old leather, his desk stacked with legal pads. Derek's claiming your mechanical skills are marital assets, he said, sliding a file across. Says he invested in your training, wants a cut of the shop's profits. I laughed, bitter, gripping the chair. Training? He killed my certs, told me wrenching was a cute phase. Alex's eyes narrowed. We've got a countersuit ready, emotional abuse, financial sabotage. But we need evidence. I nodded, Derek's old taunts flooding back. You're nothing without me. I'd buried those years, but Ethan's journals might hold the key. Back at the shop, I dug through his desk, finding a second journal, its pages newer, angrier. An entry from 5 years ago stopped me cold. Harp called, crying. Derek canceled her ASE test again, said she'd fail anyway. Had to talk her out of quitting. He's killing her spark. My hands shook, memories crashing in. A dinner party, Derek smirking as he told his boss. Harper's little garage hobby? She's better at folding napkins. Guests had laughed. I'd burned with shame, my sketches hidden in a drawer. Another entry. Derek blocked her from a Fresno shop internship. Lied to the owner. Said she flaked. She's fading, and I'm stuck watching. Tears pricked my eyes. Ethan had tracked every cut, every lie, even when I'd shut him out. I handed the journals to Alex, my voice steady despite the ache. This is it. Derek's sabotage. Documented. Use it. He scanned the pages, nodding. This'll bury him. But a new email hit my phone. Vance, the rival shop owner who'd offered to buy Novak Auto, had leaked financial concerns to a local news blog, claiming our books were shaky. The numbers were fake, our profits were solid, but the timing screamed Derek. Zoe, sipping coffee in the back bay, confirmed it. Check the blog's source. Vance's email ties to a Fresno IP, same as Derek's burner. They're in bed together. My jaw clenched. Derek wasn't just suing. He was trying to tank my rep, scare off clients, force me to sell. I thought of Ethan's words. Show him what I saw. No way I'd let Derek win. The court hearing came fast. A Bakersfield courtroom packed with reporters sniffing drama. Derek sat across, all polish in a tailored suit, his smirk unchanged from the divorce. I wore my Novak auto jumpsuit, grease stains proud, Lucas and Zoe in the front row. Alex presented Ethan's journals, reading entries aloud. Derek's canceled tests, his lies to employers, his public jabs. I took the stand, voice clear. He didn't train me. He buried me. Told me I'd never be more than his shadow. These journals show he sabotaged my career for a decade. Derek's lawyer fumbled, claiming the journals were hearsay. But the judge, a no-nonsense woman with steel gray hair, wasn't buying it. She leaned forward, eyes on me. Ms. Novak, you rebuilt a shop in months, won major contracts. Sounds like you're no one's shadow. She dismissed Derek's claim with prejudice, banging the gavel. Frivolous suit! You're done here! Lucas squeezed my hand as the courtroom buzzed, Derek's face pale, his charm cracked. Outside, cameras swarmed, mics in my face. Harper, what's next for Novak Auto? A reporter shouted. I stood tall, the shop's logo bold on my chest. I'm free of Derek's lies, I said, voice steady. Novak Auto's my home, my brother's legacy. I'm building it stronger, with a wedding this spring, and a clinic for single moms. We're not slowing down. Zoe grinned, snapping a photo, while Lucas slipped an arm around me. The story hit every local outlet, blogs calling me Bakersfield's comeback queen. Back at the shop, I stood in the back bay, Ethan's sketches glowing under the skylight. Derek was gone, his lawsuit crushed, his alliance with Vance exposed as a desperate grab. I'd won, but the media frenzy meant every move was watched now. Could I keep the shop's engine roaring, or was this victory just the calm before a bigger storm? The news vans had peeled out of Novak Auto's lot, leaving tire marks and the echo of my own voice. We're not slowing down, ringing in my ears. Derek's lawsuit was dead, his lies buried under Ethan's journals and a judge's gavel, but the media's spotlight still burned. I stood in the back bay, Ethan's sketches glowing under the skylight, my jumpsuit still carrying the courtroom's tension. Lucas leaned against the workbench, his grin steady. You owned that, Harp. Derek's done, and the town's calling you a legend. I laughed, shaky, but the weight of every eye on the shop, clients, crew, reporters, pressed hard. Ethan's words in my mind. Show him what I saw. Felt like a dare to keep climbing. My phone buzzed, an email from Vance, the rival shop owner who'd teamed up with Derek. Meeting request, urgent. My gut twisted. Vance wants to talk, I told Lucas, showing him the screen. After that stunt with Derek, bet he's got a new play. The next day, Vance swaggered into Ethan's office, his cowboy boots clicking on the floor, a shark's grin under his Stetson. Alex sat beside me, legal pads ready, while Lucas lingered by the door, arms crossed. Vance didn't sit. Harper, you're the talk of Bakersfield, but let's cut the chase. I'll buy Novak Auto, $15 million, cash. You walk away rich, no stress? My jaw tightened. The shop's neon sign buzzed outside. Ethan's legacy in every bolt. Not for sale, I said, voice flat. This place is my brother's dream. Mine too. Vance leaned forward, eyes glinting. Dreams don't pay bills. Word is, your clinic's stretched thin. And that apprentice program? Nice, but a money pit. Take the deal, or you'll crash. Derek's echo. You're nothing. Tried to creep in, but I shoved it down. We're solid, Vance. Ramirez contract. New donors. Try again. He smirked, dropping a contract on the desk. Think it over. Clock's ticking. As he left, Lucas muttered, Guy's got nerve. I nodded, but Vance's words stung. $15 million could solve a lot, but at what cost? That afternoon, Alex called an emergency board meeting. Me, him, and Frank, the only ones Ethan named as trustees. In the loft office, Frank slid a sealed envelope across the table, Ethan's handwriting scrawled on it. For Harper, if the big dogs come knocking. My heart skipped. Alex opened it, reading aloud. Harp, if you're reading this, someone's trying to buy the shop. I set up a $3 million trust, but it's yours only if you say no to any offer over $10 million for 5 years. This place is your spark. Don't let it go. Bet on yourself. My eyes stung, Ethan's faith hitting like a spark to fuel. Frank grinned. He knew you'd get offers, wanted to test if you'd hold the line. Alex added, There's a catch. The trust's for expanding Novak apprentices nationally. New shops, new kids. Big commitment. I leaned back, stunned. A plot twist I hadn't seen coming. Ethan wasn't just handing me cash, he was daring me to scale his dream, make it bigger than Bakersfield. I'm in, I said, voice steady. No sale. We grow. Later, in the back bay, Frank handed me a small velvet box. Found this in Ethan's safe, from your mom. Inside was her pendant, a silver wrench crossed with a spark plug, worn smooth from her years as a mechanic before the crash that took her and Dad. I clutched it, throat tight. At 12, I'd watched her fix a neighbor's truck, her hands sure, her laugh bright. You're my spark, Harp, she'd said, pinning the pendant on me once. Ethan had saved it, a symbol of my worth when I doubted it most. I slipped it on, the weight grounding me, tying me to her, to Ethan, to the shop. Derek's lies. Vance's offer. They couldn't touch this. That evening, Lucas found me on the shop's roof, the pendant glinting under the stars. The town sprawled below, Bakersfield's lights flickering like possibilities. Vance's deal got you rattled? He asked, sitting close, his flannel brushing my arm. I shook my head. Not anymore. Ethan's trust, Mom's pendant, they're why I'm here. Not for cash, for them. Lucas took my hand, his calluses rough but warm. Marry me, Harp. Not just for you, for this, us, the shop, Ethan's dream. My heart raced, Derek's old traps flashing. His love, always a leash. But Lucas saw me. Gearhead, leader, not a shadow. I kissed him, fierce, whispering, Yes. His grin lit up the night, our partnership sealed under the same sky Ethan had bet on. Back in the office, I spread out maps, sketching plans for apprentice shops. Philly, Detroit, maybe Miami. The $3 million trust was a start, but national expansion meant grants, partners, more hustle than I'd ever pulled. Ethan's dare loomed large, and Vance's $15 million taunted. A quick fix if I faltered. The pendant hung heavy, Mom's spark, Ethan's faith, Lucas's love, all riding on me. I'd beaten Derek, won the crew, built the clinic. But could I fund this dream without breaking? Or was I one bad call from losing the shop's soul? The maps for Novak apprentices, Philly, Detroit, Miami, still cluttered the office desk. Ethan's $3 million trust a bold bet I was scrambling to match with grants and hustle. Vance's $15 million offer lingered like exhaust fumes, tempting but toxic. While Mom's pendant, the wrench and spark plug charm, hung warm against my chest. Lucas's proposal on the roof last night, his calloused hand in mine, had sealed our partnership, but the weight of Ethan's dare, go national or bust, pressed hard. I'd beaten Derek's lawsuit, won the crew, kept the clinic alive, but funding a coast-to-coast dream was a gear I hadn't shifted yet. As I stood in the back bay, sketching budget plans, Mia burst in, her tablet glowing with designs. Philly's greenlit, she said, grinning. I'm heading the clinic there, but the locals think it's a PR stunt. Need you to back me up. I nodded, seeing my own fight in her fire. Skeptics, doubters, just like my first day here. We'll show 'em, I said, Ethan's journal flashing in my mind. Show 'em what I saw. Spring hit Bakersfield like a warm engine, and the shop's lot transformed for the wedding. String lights crisscrossed above, tables draped in shop blue cloth, a rebuilt '72 Camaro parked as a centerpiece, my gift to Lucas, its hybrid engine purring from my designs. Mia, maid of honor, rocked a leather jacket over her dress, her adaptive lift sketches tucked in her pocket. Frank, in a rare clean flannel, took my arm, his eyes misty. Ethan'd be proud, Harp. You're more than he dreamed. My throat tightened as he walked me down the aisle, a path lined with wrenches and spark plugs, the crew cheering. Lucas stood at the end, his cap swapped for a tie, his grin wide as I'd ever seen.
"You're my spark,"
he whispered as we exchanged rings, Mom's pendant glinting under my dress. The vows were simple, grease-stained hands clasped. We'd build together, shop and all. Mia caught the bouquet, winking, while Zoe led a toast, yelling,
"To Harper, who turned a wreck into a rocket."
The lot roared, and I kissed Lucas, the shop's neon sign buzzing like Ethan's blessing. Weeks later, I flew to Philly with Mia, the $3 million trust fueling the first national Novak apprentices clinic. The storefront was gritty, urban, but alive with potential, tools gleaming, kids like Mia ready to learn. At the opening, locals packed the lot, skeptical, arms crossed.
"Heard this is just charity fluff,"
one muttered, echoing Mitchell's old jabs. I stepped up, Mia at my side, and faced them. "I was you," I said, voice carrying over the city hum. "Divorced, broke, told I'd never wrench. My brother Ethan built a shop to prove them wrong. This clinic's your shot. Learn, build, rise." Mia demoed her adaptive lift, its foot pedal smooth, and a teen in the crowd, wheelchair-bound, nodded, eyes lit. I worked the phones after, calling donors. Chores, leaning on Valley Hope's contacts. By dusk, a local union pledged support, swayed by Mia's grit and my story.
"You're legit,"
a shop owner told me, shaking my hand. I saw my own arc in Mia's fight, doubt, hustle, victory, and knew Ethan's legacy was spreading. Back in Bakersfield, I spoke at the local trade school's commencement, the auditorium packed with grads in caps and gowns, tools in hand. Mom's pendant swung as I leaned into the mic. "I hit rock bottom a year ago," I said, voice steady. "Lost everything, marriage, money, confidence. But this shop, this trade, pulled me back. You'll crash too. Life's a rough road. Rebuild from the ruins. Your hands, your spark, they're enough." The grads cheered, a few wiping tears, and I caught Lucas's proud nod from the front row. Ethan's words, "You've got the spark, Harp," rang true, not just for me, but for them. That night, Lucas and I climbed to the shop's roof, the stars bright over Bakersfield's sprawl. The pendant glinted as I leaned against him, the city's lights like a map of what we'd built. "Remember when Ethan taught me to fix that carburetor?" I said, voice soft. I was 12, all thumbs, but he grinned like I'd hung the moon. Said I'd build something bigger than him someday. Lucas squeezed my hand. "You have. Apprentices, the clinic, us. You're past his dreams, Harp." My eyes stung, picturing Ethan's laugh, his grease-streaked hands guiding mine. I'd come back to his shop broken, doubted by Mitchell, hunted by Derek, tempted by Vance. Now I was Harper Novak, wife, leader, legacy builder. The Philly clinic was just the start, but funding the next ones loomed, a mountain of grants and pitches. I kissed Lucas, the pendant warm against my skin, ready for the climb. What's Harper's next gear? Like, comment, share, and subscribe for the next story on our channel.